In these last 2 weeks of Lent, the readings point to the crucified one, with a focus on what God has done for us. Our reading from Jeremiah comes at the end of the prophet's ministry. This passage comes from 2 chapters that are referred to as the Book of Comfort. The promise of the New Covenant embodies the aging Jeremiah's spiritual testament to an exiled people. That even though they have sinned in the past, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. It will be written on the hearts of the people, and their acceptance will not be taught, but will arise from their deep experience of forgiveness. For I will forgive their evil doing and remember their sin no more. Though the term New Covenant appears only here in the Hebrew Scriptures, at the Last Supper, Jesus will describe his self-offering as the New Covenant. Today's Gospel concludes John's presentation of the public ministry of Jesus and provides the bridge to the story of his final days. In 2 different ways, today's Gospel reflects 2 other incidences in Jesus' life that the Gospel of John, interestingly enough, did not record. In Matthew's Gospel alone, we hear the story of the visit of the wise men. The Gentile astronomers come to the baby Jesus and worship him. In today's Gospel, 3 Greeks appear on the scene. The Greeks who would like to see Jesus underscore the universal dimension of the lifting up and glorification of the Son of Man. When I will draw everyone to myself. The emphasis here is on everyone, both Jews and Greeks. Just before today's Gospel, John tells the story of the raising of Jesus' friend Lazarus from the dead. Having witnessed both the sadness of death and God's triumph over it, and having reached the hour of his imminent death, Jesus now speaks of the paradox of life through death. As the springtime festival of Passover nears, Jesus points to the mystery of the grain of wheat, which, after seeming to lie dead in the soil, now springs up throughout the land to sustain life. This dying and rising provides a paradigm of discipleship. Whoever loves his life will lose it, and whoever hates it will gain eternal life. Those words seem jarring to an age aware of the dangers of self-loathing and lack of self-esteem. It can lead people to do horrible, horrible things, like jumping off the George Washington Bridge. Loving life in John, however, does not refer to the proper sense of dignity and joy that one should have as a great person. It means a preference for the world and human glory that can blind a person to God's love. Hatred of one's life means rejection of the claims of the world and willingness to serve and follow Jesus. This becomes explicit in the next saying, "Whoever serves me must follow me." The cost of losing one's life touches Jesus himself as he speaks on the night before he died in the Garden of Gethsemane from the depths of a troubled soul. Father, save me from this hour, while accepting that it was for the glory of his Father that he has come to the hour of his passion. Which brings us to the second parallel in today's gospel. As at his baptism in Mark, where a voice from heaven proclaimed, "This is my beloved Son, listen to him," the barrier between heaven and earth is bridged today. And a heavenly voice accepts Jesus' offering, which Jesus then says was for your sake, since by his death the power of evil will be broken. The reading from the letter to the Hebrews highlights this message. It speaks of Jesus, quote, in the days of the flesh, unquote, a biblical expression of the sphere of weakness and suffering to which Christ was subject as he prayed to the one who could save him from death. This does not mean avoiding physical death, but rescue from the power and realm of death. In Hebrews, Jesus is a compassionate high priest who shares flesh and blood with God's sons and daughters, and who was himself tested through what he suffered, so he could help others like ourselves who are equally tested. Today's reading says that Jesus learned obedience from what he suffered. Biblical obedience is not primarily following the will of another, but something called deep listening. In the case of Jesus, not only to his Father, but as the compassionate one to the sufferings of his brothers and sisters. His life and suffering were a school of deep listening and compassion. This is the Jesus whose loving service and enduring presence we celebrate over the next 2 weeks. The readings lead us into the deepest mystery of Christian faith. The allure of the world, the inevitability of death and suffering, even the call to embrace it, along with the ringing paradox that metaphorical loss of human life is the gain to eternal life. That we have a compassionate high priest whose soul was also troubled as he faced the abyss of death, but whose death was an enduring covenant of forgiveness, inscribed with the promise that where I am, there will my servant